Hi, my name is Shelby Redfield Kilgore, and I am a Korean adoptee and the filmmaker of all of these foster care and adoption videos. Today on Adoption Education, I'm going to let another adoptee, Lilly Fei, answer the question, why is an adoption community important? Lilly Fei is a Chinese adoptee who grew up in a transracial adoptive family in the US, and she is a fellow YouTuber, and you can also follow her on Instagram at adopteelily. And I am so grateful that Lilly was able and willing to be a part of this episode. She speaks on not only the importance of an adoption community, but also the importance of centering adoptee voices and listening to them, hearing them, validating them, how to navigate the differing views in the adoptee community, the importance of sharing your own story, not speaking for others. And she also gives advice for adoptive parents and adoptees. And without further ado, I will let Lilly Fei take it away.
Hi, my name is Lilly. I am a 26-year-old transracial adoptee. I was born in China and adopted to the US when I was just 6 months old. And my family growing up was comprised of my two adoptive parents who are both white, and then I have an adoptive sister who is also from China. Growing up, there were some other kids in my school who were adopted, specifically from China, and there were some domestic adoptees. But I think that my parents pushed so hard for me to have connections with the fellow adoptees that I did the typical thing that a kid does and says they don't want to do it instead. And so looking back, I think my parents probably should have tried some reverse psychology on me or something, because I was the type of child to want to do the opposite of whatever was, suggested towards me. And so as a result, I kind of, didn't really want to be friends with other adopted children. And to me, it kind of felt like these forced friendships, and it wasn't really genuine and authentic. And it felt like when we were hanging out on organized playdates and stuff, adoption, we both knew we were adopted, and so it was kind of like, oh, are we supposed to talk about it? Are we supposed to have these bonding sessions, when really we all just wanted to have playdates like normal kids and stuff like that. And so there were other kids in my class who were adopted, but it wasn't really ever a situation where we had these deep heart-to-hearts, and I wasn't exactly comforted by the fact that there were other adopted children in my classes. For most of my life, I was somewhat in the Chinese adoption community. For a while, my family was a part of the Families with Children from China organization. And like I said before, they did really try to keep me connected with other Chinese adoptees in our area. But it wasn't until I started graduate school that I really sought out the community myself. I had moved to a totally new state. I didn't know anyone here other than my partner, and I was just feeling kind of lonely. And then around that time was also when the one-child policy in China went away, and I just had all these emotions. And so I figured, why not look online for the adoption community, and specifically the Chinese adoption community. And that kind of leads into how I started my YouTube channel and my advocacy, and trying to create safe spaces for fellow adoptees, especially those who are younger than me, because I was in these adoption groups online, and I just saw how the adoptive parent voice was really the dominant voice. And I was genuinely shocked by how few adoptees were in these groups. And I had to leave some of them because the groups were toxic, and you couldn't talk about race, you couldn't talk about privilege, you couldn't talk about the triad or the constellation. And it was the types of environments where if you spoke about feeling grief and wanting to know more about yourself, then that somehow meant that you didn't want to be adopted, you were completely ungrateful, you were angry, and you needed an attitude adjustment. And so I started my channel because I was already vlogging at the time, trying to keep my family updated on my life in grad school. And I thought that the easiest way to express my emotions was just speaking. And so I posted a video about it, and I saw just how needed adoptee voices was. And I realized that I'm at an age where I'm comfortable sharing my story, and YouTube just happened to be the platform that was easiest for me, and it's the one that I've stayed on since. So, I mean, with any community, there are going to be differing views, and that is why I'm just a strong advocate on sharing your own story and making sure that you're not speaking for anyone else. And this goes for like immediate families too. So my adoptive parents never speak for me. I never try to speak for them and explain, why they chose adoption, why they did all these things, how they're feeling now. I'm really much of, you need to just share your own story. And with the differing views in the community, I welcome all of them. And I think we just need to have compassion and respect for those who have different views from us, because I'm never going to experience someone else's life. I can only share what I know, and I need to be respectful of the fact that we are all adopted in these very unique circumstances, and our stories are unique. We all have unique experiences, and so who am I to judge someone for how they feel about their own adoption, their own adoptive family, their own biological family, whatever. So yeah, I appreciate the differing views, and I've learned a lot from the different people in the community, and there's still so much I need to learn because I do speak mostly on the Chinese international and transracial adoption experience. And yeah, I think as long as we're all just being respectful and not invalidating anyone, not telling anybody that they're wrong for feeling that way or trying to speak for someone else, and we're not doing the thing like, oh, well, I don't feel X, Y, and Z, so no one else feels that way. That's not okay. We can all be in the same community, sharing experiences, sharing perspectives, sharing advice, and just remaining compassionate and understanding. Some advice that I would give adoptive parents would just be to listen and really sit and try to get rid of the defensiveness, and to understand that being uncomfortable is okay. You don't have to immediately try to be comfortable again, because a lot of times when we are uncomfortable is when we're learning and we're growing. We're trying new things and it feels kind of weird. And just understand the fact that adopted people have these life experiences that non-adopted people will never have. So even if you're trying to listen to your child and they're 5, 6, 7 years old, don't try to explain their feelings to them, or say, oh, well, you're feeling this and that's just because of whatever, and you shouldn't feel that way, because in reality you will not have the first-hand experience of being adopted or being adopted transracially, or experiencing family separation. And so yeah, my advice would be to recognize that adoptees' feelings are valid, and we have a lot to offer the world, and we have a lot that we can teach the world, but people need to see us as people with, identities and feelings and valid experiences, and we shouldn't have to prove that to anybody. We're all human, and so the infantilization of adoptees is just this huge issue that needs to go away. And the fact that we have, in my opinion, the least amount of power within the adoption system, now that we're speaking up, people do need to listen to us, because that's how we're going to change. We're the ones directly affected by this. And so when there are issues, people need to listen to us so we can fix them. And my advice to adoptees would just be, don't try to be someone that you're not, because I tried to do that for a lot of my life, and it made me so unhappy. I was so tired all of the time because I was trying to just fit in. And I think that's part of why I really advocate for having an adoption community around you. It wasn't until I really started connecting with fellow adoptees that I started embracing the fact that I'm a transracial adoptee. And so, yeah, I still struggle with not feeling Asian enough and not feeling like I'm good enough and that kind of thing, but recognizing that there are other people like me and that us speaking up gives us strength and we can connect and we're stronger in numbers really helps. And so now, I'm not ashamed to say that I was adopted. I'm not ashamed to tell people that I advocate for adoptee rights. It's not something that I try to keep secret. And I'm at a point where I'm comfortable confidently telling someone, yes, I'm okay with talking about this right now. And also, no, I don't really feel comfortable sharing that with you. We're not that close yet. Just give me some time. And when I'm comfortable, I will open up more about my story. And so, the feelings of discomfort and not really knowing who you are normal. And that, it's natural. You were separated from your family, and for international and transracial adoptees, you're in these environments where people don't look like you. You're not growing up in the same culture, learning the language, eating the foods. It's all completely new, and it's like an out-of-body experience. And so I get it. I've been there. I wouldn't say that it goes away, but I will say that it does get easier when you have support from your fellow adoptees. And so just linking my social media, I have my own YouTube channel, Lilly Fei, and then on Instagram, I'm Adoptee Lilly. And so I just try to share my own experiences and remind adoptees that they're not alone and that we're resilient. And I'm hoping that more adoptees start speaking up so our community can get bigger and we can start finding each other and getting to show the world who we are. So thank you.